Bump stock.
Bump stocks.
Bump stock.
Bump stock ban.
Today, Central Texas gun rights advocate Michael Cargill
Sued the federal government.
Cargill claims that the Department of Justice and the ATF violated his constitutional rights.
Full extend your arms. Look at your front sight. Look at your rear sight. 2 shots. Fire. All 5 shots. Fire.
My name is Michael Cargill, the owner of Central Texas Gun Works, which is a gun store in Austin, Texas. We actually are a training facility, so we do a lot of classes, private security classes, light scary handgun courses, also first responder courses, and school safety courses as well. There was a terrible shooting that actually happened in Las Vegas, probably the worst mass shooting in the nation's history. Well, a guy allegedly took a rifle, he attached a bump stock to the rifle, and killed a bunch of concert goers. This was pretty traumatic for the nation. And people, decided there's something that needed to be done. There was a call for action. And so they directed their attention to the item and said, hey, well, let's go ahead and ban, this part or piece that, this person used.
And bump stocks are officially banned in the United States. The Justice Department announced in December it would ban devices that allow semi-automatic weapons to fire continuously.
Me being in Texas, I had bump stocks. I thought it was actually kind of crazy that the federal government was going to ban something that I legally owned and purchased. And my guns have never killed anybody. My parts and pieces have never killed anyone. So why should I have to surrender something that I legally owned? If I didn't turn it over to the government, they were going to convict me of a felony. And I thought that was insane. Instead of the government going through Congress, which is how laws are being made.
I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. And I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill.
They decided to go through the ATF, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, to actually ban this part or piece. An agency within the federal government cannot create or write law. And it's not just the ATF. We're talking EPA. We're talking OSHA. They just can't arbitrarily decide they're going to ban something and turn you into a felon overnight.
In a press release, Cargill says only Congress can convert lawful activity into unlawful activity, like owning a bump stock. He believes the ATF's ban violates the Constitution. Cargill says he's turning in his bump stocks today in hopes that he wins this lawsuit and he can get them back. The nationwide ban is set to go into effect tomorrow. The government is not allowing existing owners to keep their bump stocks. They must be destroyed or turned over to authorities.
So I surrendered my bump stocks to the ATF, and then 30 minutes later, I filed a lawsuit against the federal government. I kind of knew that we were going to lose that case because, the judge, it's Austin, and his interpretation of what the bump stock was, he was actually pretty confused about it. He compared it to a shotgun. And so I said, we're going to lose this. So I sat back and, and we did. We lost that case. He ruled against us.
Here's how a bump stock works. A semi-automatic gun is a gun that fires 1 bullet each time the trigger is pulled. In contrast, a fully automatic weapon, like a machine gun, fires continuously for as long as the trigger is held down. A bump stock is a device that can replace a semi-automatic gun's standard stock. That's the part held against the shoulder. To use the gun's natural recoil to bump the stock back and forth between the shoulder and the trigger finger.
So we appealed that case. We appealed to the Fifth Circuit. So it was heard in front of the Fifth Circuit, in front of the entire court there, and we won in the Fifth Circuit. So they agreed with me that the ATF, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, could not create law. And they also gave us a great interpretation of what a machine gun was and how the function of a trigger and how does that relate to the definition of the federal government of what a machine gun was. And the government decided they were going to appeal that case to the United States Supreme Court. It was exciting walking to the United States Supreme Court. We're talking a lot of history, and it was just amazing listening to them call your name, Cargill this and the Cargill that, and breaking everything down. They actually it seemed like they fully understood, what the argument was about. I opened up my iPad, I went to the U.S. Supreme Court's website, and they started dropping down rulings. And the first one came down, it's not my case. Second one came down, it's not the Cargill case. And then third one, and all of a sudden I said, man, that's it. They only do 3 a day. I said, we're done. I said, well, let's just check one more time. So I open it back up, I refresh, boom. Garland versus Cargill. I said, oh my goodness, it's in. And I'm reading. I said, okay, I can't get this. Let me call my attorney. So I called the attorney and he said, we won. I said, oh my God. He said, and they gave us everything and more. I was like, oh, that's amazing. We won. And immediately I started getting phone calls from people all around the country, great, good stuff, bad stuff, threats, everything, started rolling in immediately within 30 minutes. Now I have a United States Supreme Court case named after me, Michael Cargill versus the United States government, which changed the gun control argument for the entire country.